Festival, Lucknow. What better to discuss about the journey of our Tiranga and explore the passage of its life so far till today. Just like 74 years back, we find ourselves enthused with freshness, energy, zeal, and a new resolve after partaking in the hosting ceremony of the flag from the ramparts of the Lal Killa and other smaller functions. May I, Major General Hemant Kumar Singh, assure you that our Military Literature Festival Lucknow will keep bringing to you worthy stories and new insights in our forthcoming sessions. Due to COVID, we are restricted to the digital media. Unraveling the mystery, philosophy, journey, and stories of the Indian national flag, we have with us two most qualified and learned citizens, Professor Sadan Jha from Surat and Sekhar Chakrabarti from Kolkata, who is India's leading vexillologist. They are treasure trove of information, research-based facts, and deep insights. Conversing with them will be our Lucknow boy, if I may call him, Lieutenant General Rameshwar Yadav, PVSM, AVSM, VSM, who had a checkered career in the Army from 1971 onwards when he joined the National Defense Academy. He is also a sought-after speaker on strategic issues and motivational matters. We will be missing Dr. Brigadier S.P. Sinha, who is an expert on flags and standards and pennants in the armed forces. Unfortunately, he is down with COVID along with his wife. We wish him and his wife an early recovery. Before I hand you over to our panel, I will share a small anecdote and read a paragraph from the book of Dr. Sadan Jha, which flag marks the two important milestones in the journey of Tiranga. After a great legal battle, young Naveen Jindal's dream of ownership of the Tiranga by our citizens came true sometime in 2001, and a new flag code was issued in 2002. In the army, a corps commander was visiting a formation a bit later, unaware of this milestone change and overcoming of the regimentation by the state. He showed his annoyance and displeasure at the act of flying the national flag at the premises of the station commander's residence. He ordered a change to the status quo. Maybe he had missed the direction which had percolated down from the army headquarters. But soon he was shown the directions. He apologized and ordered smilingly, "Role of women in nation building has been immense. On the flag front, Sister Nivedita and Madam Kama at the forefront."
Accounts people, they kept saying that, let's stretch it a little bit.
HK, now Mr. Prabal's iPhone is muted.
A key event took place at the Constituent Assembly on the night of 14th-15th August, when the nation was taking its birth in 1947. Soon after the members of the assembly took the pledge, President Rajendra Prasad invited Hansa Mehta to present the national flag on behalf of women of India. Amongst many things she said while presenting the flag, she said, "It is in fitness of things that the first flag that we will fly over the August House should be a gift from the women of India. In presenting the symbol of our own freedom, we once more offer our services to the nation. There was a sign of great equality and everybody's contribution." With that setup, I hand you over to General Rameshwar Yadav to carry on the proceedings.
Thank you, Hemant. Now, friends, Jai Hind. Now, it is a matter of honor and pride for me to take you through the journey of history of national flag in the first session of Lucknow Military Literature Festival. I have the deep association with Lucknow as I've spent my formative years here. So when General Hemant told me about the idea of the festival, I accepted as an honor to be part of this one noble cause. और जब हम लखनऊ की बात करते हैं तो मेरे जहन में सिर्फ एक शेर याद आता है, टू सेट द बॉल रोलिंग। ये जो शेर है ये लखनऊ की तहजीब और उसकी नफासत को जाहिर करता है। सुरमई शाम अवध का वह नज़ारा क्या कहूँ, सुरमई शाम अवध का वह नज़ारा क्या कहूँ, गोमती का गुनगुनाता तट किनारा क्या कहूँ, मुस्कुराती हैं अदा से बेगमे तहजीब की, छूटता है तकल्लुफ का फवारा क्या कहूँ। Now with that, I set the ball rolling for the first session of Lucknow Military Literature Festival. Friends, Lucknow is a city of intellectuals and the knowledge. It has very rich cultural credentials and it is known for its art, poetry, drama, cinema, literature, and host of other facets, which has accorded a very unique identity to Lucknow. However, there is one virtue of Lucknow which is lesser known to the world outside, and that is its military traditions. Remember what happened in 1857 when residency was geared out by the volunteers and our countrymen. It is one city which has given outstanding journals, air marshals, and admirals to armed forces. Colvin Taludas College, La Martiniere, St. Francis, Scenic School, and host of other schools are the nurseries of military talent of this. The Lucknow Military Lit Festival would bring about visibility to the martial traditions of armed forces and the connect with the countrymen. And it will bring the soldier authors together to display the talent. The theme of this inaugural session is Naam, Namak or Nishan. If you walk into any cantonment in this country, you will find the slogan written at prominent places in bold letters. It depicts the ethos and value system of the armed forces. It is an expression of our identity as Indians, that is Naam, our loyalty to our motherland, that is Namak, and pledge to uphold the honor of our national symbols, the Tiranga Jhanda, that is Nishan. It is in the spirit of Naam, Namak and Nishan that we start this festival. Today, it is our 75th Independence Day, and there is no better topic other than concept and design of national flag. On this day, there is a convergence of national unity and the day to remember the brave hearts who have laid down their lives to uphold the honor of Bharat Mata and national flag. We have two authors today and who have been pioneers in research in the history, traditions, and protocols associated with the national flag. Dr. Sadan Jha, he has written a book titled Reverence, Resistance, and Politics of Seeing the Indian National Flag. The book is spread out in 8 sections, varied parameters. The author has started narrating the history of Tiranga from the time of uprising of 1857, which witnessed the emergence of Indian nationalism for the first time, with a common objective of throwing out the British from our motherland. The concept of Bharat Mata emerged in 1873, and Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay gave it a voice in his famous book Anand Mat in 1872. It was the Vande Mataram song which became the central to Indian quest for freedom. And ladies and gentlemen, continues to be our national song even today. Starting from 1857, there have been an empty number of flag designs that motivated and united the Indian masses against the foreign rulers. It was in the initial years of 20th century that we trace the earliest format of present-day Indian flag. The design has gone through phases of Swadeshi, Swarajya, Satyagraha, Poon Swarajya, and Quit India movement. And finally, the present design has come about. Dr. Jha is an associate professor at Center for Social Studies, Gujarat, His research interests are in history of visuality and symbolic symbols and icons like spinning wheels and color, etc. This book has been published by Cambridge Press, and it is a 268-page book, and it's really very interesting. I've gone through it, and I recommend everybody to go through this book to know what is the history behind it. It is not only the history of flag. If you go through the pages of the book, you will find that you will understand the nuances and the sensitivities attached to Indian independence, our freedom struggle, which started from Gandhi, means earlier days, by number of personalities, Sister Nivedita, Madam Bika Kama, then Dr. Annie Besant, then Venkaya, and so many other people who have contributed towards design of this flag. Now, to give you an expose on the history of this flag, I will hand you over to Dr. Sadan Jha, and I have first question for him. Dr. Jha, unlike other authors, you have gone back to 1857. All other authors, they talk about 1906, 1905, and Sister Nivedita, she designed a flag, and Madam Kama, she unfurled an Indian flag in Germany, and later on Dr. Annie Besant, she also had a design of a flag. But you have gone back to 1857 in your research work. And what have been the major events that have impacted on the concept and design of various flags in the later part of 19th century? We will come to early part of 20th century once you finish this part. Over to Dr. Jha.
Thank you, General Rameshwar Yadav. And before I respond to your question, I would like to place my gratitude to Literary Festival and particularly to Major General Hemant Kumar Singh and to you, sir. It's an honor. I don't come from military background. I come from the academia, and it's an honor to be in the company of such distinguished and decorated generals. And what better way to converse on Indian flag than the evening of our Independence Day. So I really feel privileged. Now, coming back to my quest, my book, and to your question a little later, if you permit me. The idea when I started this work as part of my MPhil dissertation way back more than 20 years now, was a bit simple. We had some very good works on history of flag, one particularly by Lieutenant Commander K.V. Singh. It's a wonderful book on the history of flag with all the facts, a lot of facts and details. There were other books also. The flag, or whenever we talk about history of nation, it has to critically and crucially, centrally address the question of attachment, the passion, the love that countrymen have for their nation and its flag. How to talk about this love, how to talk about this attachment that one has with the flag, the bonding. Without this bonding, without this passion, without this attachment, without this zeal, one cannot have a history of a nation or a national flag. So it was this a quest to look at this attachment, this bonding, this imagination with which people get associated with nation and its symbols. That was the key for me when I started looking at it. And it was in that quest, the second question immediately came to my mind was how to look at this national flag, which is Indian national flag. So what does this mean, the Indianness of this flag, and how to take into account this Indianness into history of this flag? We can have a factual history where you can replace Indian national flag with any other flag and everything remains the same. But no, in Indian context, we need to go deeper into particularities, the specificities of this flag, of this symbol, which united, which gives rise to different kinds of passion among citizens, both civilians as well as military persons. So what does this uniqueness, how to capture this uniqueness? And this is where I thought that in Indian context, we need to understand the bonding between individual and the nation very differently than the way we have the histories of nations written from Western European vantage points. So it was in this context, we need to take into account number of different factors: culture, history, religiosity, all these have to be taken into account. And this is where, now coming back to your question, squarely, I also tried to go beyond 1857. And I go into the medieval and ancient periods about how the idea of the flag was very much present in India. It's not that the Britishers came and they introduced this idea to us. So this idea of the flag and the ways of associating with this symbol, both were very much present in the land itself. And these aspects then also shaped the way in which the recent 150 years of history of this flag comes down to us. Now, it is with this idea where the flag was directly related to the idea of sovereignty, which was quite dear to Indian people. And this is why when they rose against the Britishers in 1857, they also used, they needed some kind of symbol. So chapati or lotus flowers, all these were symbols, and which were also acting as a unifying mechanism for the people who were revolting against the colonial regime. Now, the question is that this idea, this symbol was never having a singular meaning. It was the idea which were very much rooted in the plurality of our traditions, our imaginations. So how to capture this plurality of our imaginations while talking about the history of the flag? These were challenging tasks for me. And, this is how, for example, there are many episodes where the flag was imagined, perceived in very subjective way by people. So for me, if a history of the flag should be written, it must take into account this plurality, this attachment which people have, and also it should go beyond the political high debates. It must go beyond the key, taking into account what key political leaders said or did not say. It has to bring in the common man, ordinary man, how they loved the country. So I'll stop here, and I'd welcome other questions.
Just few points of interest I'll take up from where Dr. Jha has left. Just for your information, it was in 1883 that Indian National Society was formed at Lahore. This was the start point probably for formulation of the flag, which later on came to become the, what I will call it, the parent flag of a Swarajya flag that we had. And incidentally, it was in 1896, the Vande Mataram was sung by none other than Thakur Rabindranath Tagore in Indian National Congress session that year. there was a magazine called Hindi Punch magazine, and in that it was the first time there was a photograph published, and it was titled as Lady Hind, and it is this Lady Hind which later on transformed into Bharat Mata. So those are the moorings during that time, that is the later half of 19th century, which gave birth to our present day flag. Now, Dr. Sir, to have given almost 30 designs of flags that time. And when he came upon, and there was a flag, and he came up with a flag which was non-communal. He was opposed to religious symbols. And he came up with a design with 7 colors of rainbow plus a white color and 19 stars. Would you elaborate upon the interpretation of these colors and these stars?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So before I come to Venkaiah's designs, let me show you the picture of the 1883 flag that you just talked about, which is, if you can see, yeah. Nuggets. This is by Sirish Chandra Basu, and we know very little about these facts. Though historians, of course, have talked about it, have mentioned about it, and this is also how I build on the shoulders of my predecessors. But to respond to your question, the Pingali Venkaiah, again, largely an unsung freedom fighter from Masulipatam, Andhra Pradesh, a phenomenal person, who came up with a full book, a book-length, design book, giving us a number of design options. That too from 1916. Even before that, we had a number of attempts in designing the flag. Sister Nivedita, we have come across in this discussion also. Now, Pingali Venkaiah, when he was designing, he was also supplementing these designs with his interpretations, with his ideas. And one of the ideas that you just mentioned, sir, was to have, he was championing this idea that how can you have Indian flag without taking into consideration the religions which were there which are there in the land, which people worship, the way people worship. So he came up in one particular design. He came up with the idea that the flag for India must be having 8 religions, and all the 8 religions, according to him at that point of time, it included Hindu, Muslims, Buddhism, Christianity, Jews, Jains, and I think I have not missed anyone. Yeah. So he said that 7 of these should form the rainbow, and 8th he reserved for the Jains, white for the Jain. So this was a kind of inclusive idea of Indian nation, which these freedom fighters, these visionaries were offering to us. And he relentlessly pursued this idea of the flag. Whenever he met Mahatma Gandhi, he used to suggest him, offer his services to Mahatma, and launching this idea that the Congress must be having its flag. And only in 1921, finally, after 5 years of relentless pursuit by Venkaiah, Mahatma then was convinced that, okay, let's have a flag. And he designed the flag for Swaraj, which was later on known as Swaraj flag. It was not yet adopted officially by Indian National Congress. This was the flag in which Mahatma insisted that the flag must have a spinning wheel in it.
So taking a cue from Dr. Saab, that in 1921 when Swaraj flag was accepted by Mahatma Gandhi because he had become one of the tallest leader that time of the freedom struggle, and he did insist that charkha should be there as a symbol of simplicity and the self, what we are calling it Atmanirbharta as on date. It was signifying that kind of a sensitivity and the symbolism that time. Besides the charkha, he was also prompting that it should be khadi and Gandhi topi. Now charkha, khadi and Gandhi topi, these are the three symbols. They became symbols of freedom fight as of that day, during that period. And incidentally, one of subsequently the same Swarajya flag, it became a symbol of Indian National Congress. It was not accepted till 1931, and is one of once they accepted this, one of the sessions of Indian National Congress, they created a Khadi Nagar. And in that Khadi Nagar, all the tents and everything, they were made of homespun khadi. Plus, on the gate, they had put this flag, and this flag had three colors, which was red, white, and green. And down below, they had put a very big charkha. Now, this is how this movement for this flag, it carried on. So, Dr. Saab, tell me something, starting from, we have moved fast forward right up to 21, 22, when Gandhiji was in the full bloom as a national leader. Is there anything more interesting starting from 1906 when Sister Nivedita came up with the first flag with a insignia of a Vajra on that until 1921? Is there some interesting episode or any debate on the colors of flag or anything else that you would like to elaborate?
There are various fascinating episodes in this history. For example, during Swadeshi and anti-partisan movement in Bengal, we have a wonderful history of flag there coming from Bengal itself. Now, going in that direction because, we have a long journey to cover itself. And you mentioned the three colors in Swaraj flag. Now, for Mahatma Gandhi, these three colors represented religions. So for him, red represented Hindu, green represented the second majority religion at that point of time, which was Islam. And he also said that for all the other religions, let's have white color. And then obviously the charkha had to be there as a symbol of his Atmanirbharta that we later came to know. What is interesting here, which I would just like to flag in very briefly, is soon after Gandhi adopted this flag, so that this was not Congress's official flag, yet it became quite popular. And this was also the time when Gandhi was preparing for non-cooperation and Khilafat movement. However, that did not materialize because of Chauri Chaura, and Mahatma Gandhi withdrew the movement. Yet, first in 1922, briefly, and then in the summer of 1923, first in Jabalpur and then in Nagpur, we witnessed a fascinating episode where people, Congress workers at local level, without any sanction from the high command, they launched civil disobedience movement purely on the issue of Indian national flag and its honor. They felt that the dignity of that Swaraj flag, which they considered as national flag, was trampled, and they each day, one among them used to go through the civil lines, the prohibited area, with the flag in the hand and quoted arrest. It's a wonderful, uh, wonderful episode of Gandhian civil disobedience movement without any violence, without Mahatma Gandhi or Congress leaders controlling it from the top. So it was purely organized at local level, but it was not a spontaneous outburst. There were plannings involved at the local level, and it soon caught the national imagination. So it's a fascinating, these kind of episodes are known to academic historians, but known very little to outside the academy. But through these episodes, the flag has acquired its dignity, its history. And it is through these popular associations of the flag. People used to write in English dailies anonymous letters, and through these anonymous letters to editors, you come across their love for their attachment, their passion for the country. And ultimately, this put a pressure on Congress leaders to accept the flag. This is how, in 1931, Congress adopted its flag officially, not before that. The other factor which we historians need to pay attention to is that 1920s was also a period which for the first time witnessed communal riots. Now, from northwest frontier provinces to Bengal, the communal violence was witnessed in the country, and this also placed a responsibility on these Congress leaders to look at the religion and symbol equation between religion and colors, which were quite in vogue at that point of time. Hence, when in 1931, Congress adopted its flag officially, it also said that the colors don't have any religious meanings. These are episodes, there are different episodes, but this was 1920s is very crucial because soon after this Mahatma, as I was mentioning, Mahatma adopting Swaraj flag and then national flag satyagraha, we also come across a number of poems, songs written on the flag. Through these songs, poems and booklets, through these letters to editors, ordinary people express their love.
Now, friends, what Dr. Saab has just described, he has given it out in his chapter 3. And very interestingly, he has titled this chapter, Indian Nation Flag as a Site of Daily Plebiscite. That means on daily basis, with the help of these symbols, they were trying to indoctrinate the minds of youth, and they were trying to rally the entire country to rise and take part in the freedom struggle. Dr. Saab, we'll move little further now, and I'm talking of your chapter 4, The Shades of History, a case of saffron color. Now in this, by 1931, Indian National Congress had already adopted the Swarajya flag, and there were certain modification to that. And in that now they have undergone, the red hat was replaced by Bhagwa. Then now you had three colors, Bhagwa, white and green. And the interpretation of this Bhagwa, white and green was given by Dr. Radhakrishnan, who was our first president. What was his take onto these colors?
Thank you, sir. Before coming to colors, very briefly, the reason I termed this chapter as plebiscite, I use this term. There is a very celebrated theoretician on nationalism called Ernest Renan, and one of his his crucial contribution. He said that nation is not just an entity. Nation is something which is lived. Citizens live nation in their everydayness. When it comes into being through sacrifices. And this is where he coined this term that nation is an everyday reality. Every day, people sacrifice their lives for the sake of nation, and this is where every day nation takes its new forms. And this is the term he captures, plebiscite. Now, to me, as I was mentioning, this ordinary people, how common people responded, their love, their attachment, their sacrifices, all are crucial. And this is why I tried to look at the history in everyday practices of Indian citizens, how they looked at it, how they practiced at different levels. Now, coming to the question of colors, the often used term which Nehru and others in Congress they used for the color was kesari. And even in 1931, when kesari was adopted in lieu of red of Mahatma's flag, it gave rise to a lot of difficulties and challenges because there was no one uniform shade of kesari. There was no uniform shade of saffron color at that point of time. Saffron meant different things in different regions, and it was a kacha color primarily. Now, I'm not going into detail there, but this was later on Congress officials resolved these issues. Some of these issues continued. One thing which came to dominate, and Radhakrishnan was also very conscious about this, was this secular interpretation where colors were interpreted in terms of heritage, in terms of valor, in terms of abstract philosophical meanings. Now, and before Radhakrishnan, many of the things that Radhakrishnan said in Constituent Assembly debate echoed philosopher Suniti Kumar Chatterjee's interpretations of colors and symbols. And here, those who are from history would recall close interaction between Radhakrishnan and Suniti Kumar Chatterjee. Let's not go into that trajectory, but the crucial thing is that in this history, threads are deeply connected to each other. And as we go deeper and deeper, we come across different kinds of use, different meanings attached to these colors and these symbols. For example, when the Constituent Assembly of India adopted its flag, which is our current flag, the charkha was replaced by wheel, Ashokan wheel. This upset Mahatma Gandhi a lot initially. And he even went on to say, and it's on record, he said that if the flag of independent country does not have the charkha, spinning wheel, I would refuse to salute that flag. Later on, people convinced him that the wheel, the Ashokan wheel, actually represents the wheel of spinning wheel, though he was not very convinced, because for him, spinning wheel represented common man and their suffering. It represented in common people's fight against colonialism. it represented Atmanirbharta that you mentioned earlier. Yet he finally he was convinced and he withdrew his complaints. So there are, fascinating, sometimes bewildering episodes. How come, for example, a wheel which was quite crucial in the domain of history, because it comes associated with Emperor Ashoka, but ordinary people, they were not aware of Ashokan wheel in that sense of the way now we associate it. The discovery of Ashoka himself was not that old. So, it's only in 1837, Ashoka, we came to know about Ashoka through James Prinsep. So it's just 100-year old. Yet it has its significance because Ashoka means many things in whenever we talk about Indian history. Yet the association that Mahatma was harping when he was talking about common people and their suffering, that association is now replaced by a philosophical and historical meanings attached to wheel, for example, but these are also powerful. So it's not about judging what was good and what was not good. It is about how, as a historian, you can make a case for both, which was there and which has been removed. So in Radhakrishnan, a philosopher par excellence, the wheel meant to move forward, a motion. So it's in that sense, it was an ideal symbol for a country which was getting liberated.
Wheel also, as per him, subsequently when he explained, wheel also meant association with Maharaja Ashok. And it was during Maharaja Ashok's time that Indian boundaries had included the major part of complete Indian subcontinent, including Afghanistan and other neighboring countries, thereby signifying that
Pan-Indian.
Reign means India is wide and spread, and it is a big samrajya. Starting from humbleness, which were depicted by spinning wheel, now by bringing with this Ashoka Chakra, we had projected our country at an international level. That was one part. And second part was Charkha is stagnating. It is depicting a cottage industry wherein the Ashoka Chakra is depicting the dynamism, and India must move forward, it must develop, and it must achieve the higher pedestals in all the fields. This is how the complete interpretation was. Dr. Sam, now that we were talking of Gandhiji, there was a flag which he had given his approval, and that flag had even Union Jack and in one of the corners. So would you in brief, just tell the audience what is it all about?
We are at 45th minute. Okay.
So
Carry on. No sweat.
They talk about this part about putting how come.
No, sir. Let Dr. Jha speak. Sir.
Okay.
Okay. Briefly, Mahatma Gandhi was a wonderful, we all know he was Mahatma revered, our father of the nation. So he said that, he was voicing many ideas at different point of time. At one point of time, he voiced this, he was toying with this idea that why not, as a matter of courtesy to our erstwhile ruler, why not have a miniature space? Why not we should acknowledge their contributions also. And so that was the spirit. Of course, I mean, he once, voiced this idea. He never pursued that in any systematic manner. Not that I knew, but he did voice that idea as a kind of, obligation to our erstwhile ruler. And you very rightly said, and this I also mentioned, that the Ashokan wheel represented Ashoka and his empire. Also, the pan-Indian appeal, the move forward, the progress which India at that point of time needed. What is very interesting, and this we should be proud of, is that Ashokan religion, Dhamma, though historians have debates, are very strongly rooted in Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist heritage. So in that sense, there are different trajectories in and through which different elements of our symbol, our flag, comes down to us, and it shows a kind of heterogeneity, the plurality that we were talking earlier, I was mentioning. And that's the strength, I feel.
Doctor, just before independence in July 1947, and this matter was brought to the Constituent Assembly to finally decide what should be our national flag, a committee was formed under Dr. Rajendra Prasad, and they came up with a flag which was Bhagwan, and along with the Charkha. So what was this controversy all about?
Let me remind them, and perhaps you are mixing two different episodes. The Bhagwa, all single color saffron flag that was suggested was in 1931 by flag committee, when the discussion was taking place for Congress to adopt its official flag. And at that point of time, the chairman of that flag committee was Pattabhi Sitaramaiah, who recommended this, that let's have the all single one color flag, which was very quickly overruled by the Congress Working Committee. That was 1931, not in 1946 when Rajendra Prasad was the member of flag committee. These were two different flag committees. And in the 1946 flag committee, when Rajendra Prasad was chairman, only 2 meetings were held. And it was in the second meeting, unfortunately, we have only the minutes of the meeting, not the proceedings, or people have not written down what members said when they were making suggestions. But in the second meeting, which took place on Sunday, and there were 2 guest members. One was Jawaharlal Nehru himself, and the other was B.R. Ambedkar. And it was the design was decided in this second design of our flag, our national flag was decided in this second meeting.
Doctor, the last question to you before we let you go, means you have educated us so well. Finally, the flag that we have adopted, there are different interpretation by people as regards to its color and significance. Very briefly, if you can elaborate upon the significance and what is the correct interpretation of these colors.
No, as I mentioned in the very beginning, people associate with their nation and the national flag in their own imaginations. And culture plays crucial role, religiosity plays crucial role, history plays crucial role. So the Constituent Assembly of India, while adopting the flag for the independent nation on 22nd July 1947, refrained itself giving any interpretation to these symbols and meanings. Radha Krishnan said one thing, he said one philosophy, Nehru said his opinion, but officially the meanings were not attached. Individuals who were speaking while forwarding this resolution, they spoke their minds, they interpreted these colors and symbols in their own way. But officially, Indian state did not assign meanings to these colors and these elements. And that's the beauty, because it then left people to imagine these colors and symbols in their own terms. However, Indian state clearly laid down the rules and terms of how and when you can unfurl the flag, when you hoist the flag, how to use the flag. And there are 11 rules.
Doctor, sorry interrupting you. This part, that flag codes for India, we will request Mr. Chakrabarti to take on, and it is suffice to to tell you that it has been really very nice session with you, and I recommend everybody to read your book. It is really a marvelous book, and once you read the book, the kind of language he has used, probably you have to go through again to actually understand what is the actual essence of what Dr. Saab has written. Dr. Saab, thank you very much.
My pleasure, sir. My pleasure.
Today for the inaugural session, and now I'll switch to our next esteemed author.
Can we ask few questions in between?
Mr. Chakrabarti is an author and a passionate collector of flag stamps. His name has found place in 11 Book of Records for collection of the most stamps featuring Indian national flag. He curated the international exhibitions in commemorating in 125th anniversary of Reverance and now he has an ambition. What he told me, establish a museum of Indian flags, and he's actively pursuing this hobby that he has. Mr. Chakrabarti, over to you. Mr. Chakrabarti is going to run up onto the Indian flags, and he's also going to show certain samples and what flags that he has collected. And thereafter, once he finishes that, of course, we will be interacting, and you will be open to interact with him. Over to you, Mr. Sekhar Chakrabarti, sir.
Thank you, General. My job is rather easy now because yourself and Professor Jha has mostly covered the Indian flag's historical part of it. But I thought before I start that the conceptions of having national flag, it came after 19th century. You wanted to know why all flag writers, they start from 1906 or 1907, why not before? Actually, India was not India then. It was all small principalities, excepting the Mughal areas, which is much bigger. Anyway, that's a historical part of it. I basically is a collector of flags, and while collecting the flags and making write-ups for my collections, I had to go through books. Though honestly, I am not a student of history, but flag fascinated me. I will read out from my next book what I have written, and from the comments which I received from this panel, the dignified panel, I will change my book. This is the opportunity I'd like to take. So to start with, let me say, hello, there is an interruption. I find some Prabhal's phone interrupting.
Now we can hear you.
Yeah. Flags fascinated me. from my boyhood. Once an interest turns into a passion, it becomes a hobby. When that passion results in research and methodology, it becomes a scientific study. So vexillology is the study of flags. Now, there are two parts of vexillology. One is pure vexillology that takes care of methodology, scientific tools for its wider ambitions, historical aspects, political aspects, social science, anthropology, diplomacy, and so on and so forth. But I have my inclination is towards applied vexillologies that I have collected what is contemporary people did with our flag and projected in many popular arts like matchboxes, cigarette packs, postage stamps, posters, advertisements like that. And then I try to create history of Indian national flag. The purpose of vexillology is, I should say, to understand more accurately or more completely the nature of the society vis-a-vis the flags. No understanding of the society is complete unless flags uses are understood. And that is was my endeavor. I wanted to find it out the uses of flag, why people do with different flags. But again, I'll go back to earlier parts what you all said. I differ in certain areas, certain talk that I'll come during my mm, deliberations as I progress. But I also understand the room provides a very brief discussion, so I will skip something and just take out at a random what I think will be more appropriate for today's discussion, and also to ignite interest about our flag instead of just talking. So I'll come with the visuals. I believe I think I have already spoken with General Jadav, and he said that you come up with the visuals. Flags have a colorful world of their own. It has its own vocabulary. In the modern world, flags have become internationally recognized symbols. You know why I say, and which can be read without the need of any language. How I say, don't you don't one doesn't need any language to understand flag. When a flag is lowered in a half mast, we know somebody important died. When the flag is hoisted on Mount Everest, we know the Everest has been conquered. We know when a flag is put down and another flag is raised, that means transmission of power has taken place. Or the colonial to freedom, like that. So there are many interpretive symbols we can find from flags and which can be shown through images. And images will speak thousand words than giving lectures like that. And I'm not very good in giving lectures. Flags play many roles: coercing, rewarding, ordering, teaching, reassuring. We wave them with pride. We burn flags when we are angry. We die for them. You generals, you must be knowing about this. And we kill for those pieces of cloth, colored cloth, what we call flag. Nowadays, there has been a great increase in the interest taken in flags. Our flag history is very rich and well documented. Vexillology is finding its place in academic community. Sadly, but true, in spite of availability of many well-researched reference books like Professor Jha has written and many others, Commander KV Singh and all, sadly, but true, in spite of availability of many well-researched reference books, there are many inaccuracies, myths in circulation. Even when you are all deliberating, I found many statements you all made which I don't agree. If time permits, I'll say why I do not agree. For the hobbyist, vexillology is one of the newest pursuits. It's a social science that clarifies political and social phenomenon through the flags. In India, however, vexillology is still in its infancy. Professor Jha will admit that flag enthusiasts in India are comparatively few in numbers considering the size of our country. Since 1965, an International Congress of Vexillology, the term vexillology means study of flags, which has been coined by Dr. Whitney Smith sometime in 1957, has been organized every 2 years under the auspices of International Federation of Vexillological Associations, FIA. The ICVs consist mainly of lectures, presentations, and workshops by the leading flag experts of the world who have the opportunity to present their research and activities to their international peers. I myself represented, sorry, I'm talking some eyes, India as a delegate in 3 consecutive ICVs. First in Rotterdam, Netherlands in 1913, then again in Sydney, and finally in London in 2007. In the Sydney ICB Flag Congress, I spoke about Sister Nivedita. We are all talking about Sister Nivedita's contribution. You'll be wondering to know, perhaps Sister Nivedita is the first lady in the world who designed a flag. We have many other women, female flag personalities, but they were mostly flag makers, not designers. It was Sister Nivedita who first designed a flag way back in 1904 when she visited accompanying with Rabindranath Tagore, scientist Jagadish Chandra Bose and on Goya, and he conceived the idea of buzzer. And then immediately coming back to Calcutta, she designed a flag. But this flag is practically remained in drawing book or in the books only because it was never hoisted, never flown, never used, Sister Nivedita's flag. And the period was in partition movement of Bengal, which was declared by Lord Curzon. And that is the period, but it was mentioned as the first wave of national struggle. Sister Nivedita's flag was displayed in 1906, in month of December, in the AICC session, whose president was Dadabhai Nauroji, the grand old man. This flag was actually never used. But to talk about Sister Nivedita's flag, the flag is kept well preserved in Acharya Bhavan, maintained by Jagadish Chandra Bose Trust. This is the oldest national flag still available. Anybody can go to the museum and see for itself. I have a small replica of Sister Nivedita's flag here.
10 minutes, sir.
Okay, I will cut down. This is the flag. It was made out of pure Indian silk, 3 feet 6 inches by 3 feet 6 inches. And as I say, Sister Nivedita was the designer. She was not the maker. This flag was made by Sister Nivedita's girl students. And on vexillological part, I take a pride. This is another Indian contribution that a lady designed one of our first flags. Okay, so that is one part of it. So now with my collections, I will come about the display part of it. The first flag, which is termed as the national flag. Others earlier there were flags, but never claimed as the national flag. The first flag, named as Calcutta flag, it was hoisted in 1906 in Calcutta by Sir S.N. Banerjee. This flag was made by Shukumar Mitra and one Mr. Bose, Sachindranath Bose. Interestingly, this flag was also made by another lady, Kumudini Basu, and her name is hardly found in any flag book. In most flag books, of late people are taking interest and they're putting back their contributions in the various books. Now, in 1906, Calcutta flag was hoisted, and it was so surprisingly, but almost strikingly similar. Another flag was hoisted by Madame Kama. Many people say it was designed by Madame Kama. Sorry, it was not designed by Madame Kama. See, on 15th August, Jawaharlal Nehru hoisted the flag. That doesn't mean Jawaharlal Nehru designed that flag. Similarly, Madam Kama hoisted the flag in 1907 in Second International Socialist Congress at Stuttgart. So similar. This is the flag with the Calcutta flag. Can you see this? Can you all see this flag?
Yes, sir,
Can
we
you see
can.
this? Can you see? Or I'm holding it properly.
You can lift it up.
Okay. Okay. Can you see now?
Okay, fine, sir.
Okay. So you are. I take it granted that you have seen and you got the idea. Now, how these two flags became so similar, it puzzled most of the historians. And hardly you will find that how come two flags were designed by two different group of peoples about 15,000 miles away, one in Calcutta and another it was designed in Paris, hosted in Germany. How this similarity could take place? So it is at that time there is Dr. Bhupendranath Bose was the younger brother of Swami Vivekananda, who himself was a revolutionary. And he is the first person in India, first vexillologist in India, who made a research about how come these two flags became similar. Then he came out with a thesis that there has to be a common man who was present in 1906 in Calcutta and went to Paris. It was Hemchandra Kanungo who made this flag for him, Madam Kama, and Madam Kama hoisted it. And this part you will find in the books of Lieutenant Commander K.B. Singh, and in subsequent many other books. I think Professor Jha also mentioned this fact. Okay, I leave this part because I have given only 10 minutes time.
Mr.
Then,
Chakrabarti,
yes,
About 5 minutes.
I've observed.
now 5 minutes. So I have to cut down many other things. You are making my job more easier.
Let me ask.
So,
Let me tell you.
coming back to Pingali Venkaya's flag, he made about 24 designs. And I'll show you a few of the designs. I think you can see. And he was relentlessly trying to adopt at least one flag through Mahatma Gandhi as our national flag. And Mahatma Gandhi, I can quote from his own writing, he was not at all interested. He was not at all happy with this flag. He said, there is nothing in these designs to enthuse me or enthuse the nation. So he outrightly rejected Pingali Venkaya's flags. Pingali Venkaya came out with the book in 1900. We should have a national flag. That's absolutely right. But why we are silent about Sister Nivedita when she wrote an article in 1909 in her pen name RS. It was published in Modern Review, November issue, 1909. That means 7 years before Pingali Venkaya's book, Madam Kama got another lady. The first present national flag was presented by Mrs. Hansha Mehta on behalf of all the women members of the Constituent Assembly. I can show you a small picture postcard, quite rare nowadays, is not available. Even I have, he is from Gujarat. Many people from Gujarat also never heard about her name. Now, I inquired about that. Why don't you have some memorials or something about Hansha Mehta? They said, I do not know who was she. But it is she who presented on behalf of all the members this flag to the that time council house. Later it became Parliament House. The last speaker, I'll put about some more ladies about it. The last speaker was Sarojini Naidu in the Constituent Assembly, and she wrote a beautiful poem for 15th August 1947. Now, the very first three historic flags, which was hoisted, one in the Parliament building, another is Rashtrapati Bhavan, and the third one is in Red Fort. All the three flags are now missing or stolen. Nobody knows what happened. There were many newspaper articles about these things in Times of India and other national papers. Nothing was these flags could not be traced thereafter. And this missing of flags is not in 1947. Well before that, Rani Lakshmibai's flag, which was kept in army regimental, I think again have been.
Mr. Chakrabarti, kindly wind up.
Okay. I complete it for now.
Request you in very brief. Just
Yeah.
inform us about the flag code of India, not more than 2 to 3 minutes. What are the basic essentials of flag code of India of 2002?
Basic essence of flag code of India, that after the Supreme Court judgment given in 2004, that citizens are allowed to hoist flag, but with honor. To maintain this honor, we have to follow certain rules. Those rules have been laid down in flag code of India, and that's a very elaborately, very big thing. It will take more than an hour to talk about the total flag codes. But main important part is that Indian flag always has to be placed in the place of honor, and purposely, no one should desecrate the flag, dishonor the flag, trample the flag. These are all these things are laid down very clear terms in flag code of India. And about various mistakes and on, which I'll notice. He was taken by a procession of 51 bullock carts. These 51 bullock carts means there were 102 oxes. For each oxes, there was a tailor-made bales were made, and it is one of that bale is in my possession.
Oh,
With this bale, 1938, I complete my session today. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Chakrabarti. Thank you very much. Friends, it has been an educative session, and we are all taking back pearls of wisdom from two of our very famous authors. And I don't know about all of you, but at least means I've been enriched by the knowledge, and I'm sure in times to come we are going to learn much more about Indian flag.
This is my book. This is my
I would
book.
like to thank Dr. Sadan Jha and Mr. Sekhar Chakrabarti for sparing the valuable time to educate us on such an important subject. And before I sign off, I would like to say that the Indian Armed Forces follow the ethos of Naam, Namak and Nishan to uphold the dignity and honor of Bharat Mata. And to do that, the code of conduct is very simple. Like Captain Vikram Batra, he said, या तो तिरंगा फहरा के रहूंगा या तिरंगे में लिपट के आऊंगा. So that is the kind of value system that we have in our country. And with that, I conclude today's session and hand you over to Major General Hemant Singh.
we thank all of you for being present today in this conversation, especially our esteemed guests. Our next session is on 22nd August in the evening at 6:30 p.m. That will be on a different note. Bhopal and Lucknow, tales from two great cities. These are based on two books. One is upcoming book and one has been released. Dr. Rosie Llewellyn-Jones will be talking to us from UK about Battleground Lucknow 1857 with some new discoveries. And Lieutenant General Milan Naidu from the Rajput Regiment from Bhopal will be talking about his book, Nizam-e-Bhopal, and it will be moderated by our own Lucknow icon, Mehru Jafar. With that, I beg your leave. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
We can end the meeting now.
Hello,
Yes.
Hemant sir. Hemant sir, this is Colonel S.V. Singh from Lucknow.
If you have a question, you can put it in the chat, sir.
Hello. My only question is,
No.
between the speakers, if there is 5 minutes, some question has can be put down.
I think you are getting cut, sir. What we will do is, you send a message to me and I will take it forward, and any questions which have been raised, we will answer to the individual.
Speakers.
So with everybody's permission, I would like to end today's meeting, and
I know the moderation is
before we
required and
move to
General Yadav did very well.
our evening classes,
My only humble
the end of a glorious day. Thank you so much.